For those who want to feel that way, I have an adult connection with Suni. When a shocking truth came out in Hollywood and the rest of the world in 1992, everyone was shocked. It came out that talented Hollywood director Woody Allen was in love with Suni Previn, the daughter he had adopted. Dylan Farrow, another adopted child of Mia Farrow, came forward that same year and said Allen had been bad to her. Even though he was getting a lot of bad feedback, Woody Allen said nothing. He was set on marrying Ye soon, and he didn't care what other people thought or said. But there was a story of pain and trauma behind these firm choices that you would only soon fully understand. She had been through mental pain that few people could understand, and then she gave her heart to the man in every way, as love and as rescue. But getting married wasn't easy. It was a private nightmare that will soon be plaguing you. She kept quiet for a long time, living in the shadow of rumors and holding memories of being judged and doubted. And now, with a calm breath, you're finally brave enough to pick up the pieces of memory and tell the truth. What's really going on between that father and daughter? To find out the truth, you must first listen to Suni Previn's whole story. A story that is both sad and suffocatingly creepy. To understand Sununi's story, you need to look at the complicated relationships between her husband and father. Woody Allen. He was the perfect example of a genius. He was also very strange and interesting. From the start of his career in show business, he stood out for having a smart mind, a unique sense of humor, and great writing and directing skills. People in the arts admired him for his skill, but it also raised questions about his personal life. Allen was married to actress Louise Lasser after being married to Harleen Rosen when he was very young. He had a few short marriages that made people wonder about his health. Later, his famous relationship with Diane Keaton, which lasted for many years without getting married, showed how he dealt with relationships in a different way. Passionate, out of the ordinary, and always leaving behind complicated effects. People who loved him had to deal with this conflict because they were drawn to his intelligence and style. Woody Allen suddenly stopped when he saw Mia Farrow, the woman who made his heart beat very fast. He was shocked by her random behavior after years of giving in to short-term relationships with hundreds of women. People thought this was the last safe harbor for the great director. But in fact, it was just the start of a private storm where love, power, and family secrets came together violently in a way that had never happened before. In 1979, Woody Allen and Mia Farrow met for the first time at a popular restaurant in Manhattan. It looked like a chance meeting, but it was actually planned by fate. Mia Farrow had been married before and was raising a lot of kids, both her own and kids she had adopted. Allen, who had just broken up with Diane Keaton, was pulled to her weak but strong aura. They began going out together at the end of that year. Woody asked Mia to come watch the Knicks, take a walk in Central Park, and then have dinner alone. A year later, in 1980, they started their relationship, which was both romantic and rare because it combined love, family, and work. As soon as Woody and Mia fell in love, they started working together on art. Since 1982, Mia Farrow has been in Allen's movies, starting with a Midsummer Night's Dream spin-off and continuing with many other movies. They worked together on 13 movies over the course of about 10 years. Each one is a statement about love, loneliness, and one's inner life. Woody seemed to find in Mia not only a lover but also a creative spark. For her part, Mia entered a deep world of art while staying in touch with her large family. But that was all there was. They were together for 12 years, but they never lived together, stayed at each other's houses more than a few times, and they never got married. Woody had a very nice apartment in East Manhattan. Mia lives with her kids in an apartment on West Central Park West and at the Frog Hollow Estate in Connecticut. He told her straight out, "I don't believe in marriage." She told him, "I've been through 2 failed marriages. I don't need papers anymore." Woody paid Mia's lawyer. She paid the rent and the kids' school fees, but she never legally recognized any of her adopted kids, including Suni Previn. In the mid-1980s, Mia and Allen's family grew in a strange way. In 1985, Mia Farrow adopted Dylan Farrow, and 2 years later, in 1987, she gave birth to a son with Alan Satchel, who would become known as Ronan Farrow. Their love and shared responsibility for the kids made for a strange but loving family. They raised and educated different kids, but they were bonded by art and love. But they never got married or lived together. By the late 1980s, signs of instability started to show. Allen became more distant, and underlying arguments started to simmer. They still appeared together in movies. There was quiet tension as a love story that everyone thought was perfect started to show small flaws that no one wanted to face head on. It all came to a head when the most shocking scandal in Woody Allen's life broke out, tearing apart family, public opinion, and the image he had worked so hard to build. It started at the end of 1991, when Allen started dating Suni Previn, Mia's adopted daughter. At the time, Allen had just adopted Dylan and another child, and son Uni was only about 21 years old. She went from being shy to dressing in bold clothes and acting like she was in a relationship, often pretending she was out with friends to hide meetings with Allen. The secret was kept for a long time. The relationship seemed stable for months, but it completely shook it up, setting the stage for the tragedy that would follow. Things were calm until December 1991, when Soon Yi, then a freshman at Drew University, and Woody, then 56, slept together for the first time in his penthouse while he was still dating her mother. Woody later said, "It was a terrible mistake, but I couldn't resist, and what had to happen happened." A sudden shock broke the order for Mia Farrow and Woody Allen in January 1992. When Mia went to Allen's room in Manhattan, she found a Farrow was shocked when she saw a set of naked Polaroid photos of Suni Previn, her adopted daughter. The pictures were sexy and provocative, nothing like the daughter she knew. At that moment, she lost all trust and security in the family she had worked so hard to build. The feeling of betrayal was so strong that Mesa acted right away. She took the photos, left the apartment quickly, and couldn't keep her calm. When she got back, she yelled, "Woody, what have you done to my daughter?" Her angry voice shocked and angered everyone. The love and family that had been thought to be stable fell apart in an instant. That same day, Mia called Woody Allen to confront him. She told him straight out that she had found the photos and told him he had to leave the family and stop influencing the kids. Allen tried to defend himself by saying, "Mia, I love you. I don't know what to do." But everything was agreed upon. Mia cut him off, her tone firm. "Stop lying." Allen was shocked when she told him, "You are no longer a part of this family." From January 15th to 20th, Woody sent flowers and handwritten letters of apology several times, but they were all returned unopened. Soon, Ye moved into a separate apartment in Manhattan that Allen had rented for her. Mia wrote a 5-page handwritten letter to Woody, photocopied it, and gave it to all the older children so they would know what he did to their sister. She then hired New York's best divorce lawyer, Elena Alter, to prepare for a custody battle that no one saw coming to be so long and violent. Shortly after, Mia ended her 12-year relationship with Allen. They no longer live together, and they are almost no longer related. The affair shocked Hollywood and the rest of the world because having a relationship with an adopted child went against all morals and broke down all the barriers between love, family, and responsibility. The children, who had been raised in a creative and stable environment, were suddenly exposed to a terrible scandal. In August 1992, Woody Allen responded in a shocking way. He asked the New York Supreme Court to give him full custody of the 3 children he thought were his own, Dylan, Satchel, and Moses. He made a cold case that he wasn't Sunanye's father or stepfather and had never lived with Mia or been in charge of her family. He thought the only thing that was strange was the bond between Suni and Mia, which he had a hard time explaining to everyone else. Things got worse when Allen called Mia an unfit mother and accused her of emotional abuse, favoritism toward biological children, and even making up abuse claims to get back at son Uni. Mia responded right away, and the custody battle started. It was the most expensive and well-known family scandal of the 20th century. The trial started in Manhattan on March 19, 1993, with over 30 witnesses called, including nannies, psychologists, friends, and even Mia's older children. The courtroom felt like a movie theater. Allen sat with famous lawyer Alan Dershowitz, and Mia sat with divorce killer Eleanor Alter. Both sides showed tapes, letters, receipts, and photos. Allen showed proof that Mia had called him at midnight and screamed, "I will kill you." Mia played recordings of herself pleading with him to drop the lawsuit because she was afraid of losing her adopted children. But something important happened during the trial. Dylan accused Woody Allen of molesting her. Dylan Farrow, Mia Farrow's adopted daughter, then 7 years old, said that Woody Allen took her to the attic, asked her to play with toys, and then touched her inappropriately. At the same time, many strange things about Allen's parenting came to light. He would often sit Dylan on his lap while only wearing underwear, put on too much sunscreen, share beds, kiss on the lips, and take private photos. Satchel's therapist said Allen was cocky, insensitive, and lacked boundaries. On the other hand, Allen accused Mia of hitting Moses with a belt, slapping Soon-Yi, and calling her biological children trash. Moses, 15, took the stand and said, "I don't want to see him again. He ruined the life of my sister." After thinking about it for a month, Judge Wilk made his decision on June 7, 1993. He gave full custody to Mia and called her a loving and devoted mother. Allen was only allowed to see Dylan and Satchel twice a week while being supervised by a professional. He was not allowed to talk to Moses by the boy's parents. Allen was told to pay Mia's more than $1 million in legal fees and was told he could never adopt Dylan and Moses again. Wilk wrote, "Allen's behavior toward Dylan was very inappropriate and requires strict protection." Allen immediately filed an appeal, but in 1994, he lost the whole case. The trial had a heavy price. Allen's reputation was badly damaged, Mia was emotionally and financially drained, and the children were permanently split, with Moses supporting Allen and Dylan and Ronan fully supporting their mother. This happened in just 7 weeks in the summer of 1993. Soon, Yi-Pen talked about how terrible it was. She was criticized everywhere she went. At 21, she was barely an adult, and she had to deal with a storm of public scrutiny. Every word and action she did was looked at, and her name became linked with phrases like betraying the family and manipulated adopted daughter, which made her feel cut off from a normal world and made her a figure judged by society. The pressure came from both outside and inside her family. As Mia Farrow's adopted daughter, she had grown up in an artistic home where she was loved and cared for. But all of a sudden, she had to deal with angry stars, mean whispers, and a feeling of being completely alone. She was the lover of a famous director and the public's idea of sin. Despite this, Soon-Yi stayed determined to keep her relationship with Allen, knowing that everyone would see everything negatively. Maybe love won out in the end. Later, Sun-Ye continued to defend her relationship with Allen, saying that she was physically and emotionally drawn to him from the first kiss. She didn't see him as a father or. She kept saying that her parents were Andre Previn and Mia and that she had never thought of Allen as a family member or been close to him before she was an adult. Soon, Yi made it clear that she was neither an abused child nor the victim of a cruel stepfather. She insisted that all of her decisions were her own and that she had not been forced or manipulated to make them. She also said that her relationship with Allen started when she was an adult in college and was a choice she made herself. After 1993, Woody Allen and Mia Farrow broke up. Mia's art career slowly lost its shine while Allen kept working hard on making movies. People thought that after the scandal and family tragedy, Allen would pull back and give up on relationships, but he didn't. Instead, Allen's next choice shocked, intrigued, and unable to look away. At the end of 1997, Woody Allen and Soon-Yi Previn got married in Venice, Italy. The scandal from 1992 was still fresh in people's minds, but they ignored all the criticism to go ahead with their marriage. Allen's choice shocked many. After the wedding, the couple chose a private life, avoiding media attention while staying close. They moved to New York and started building a small home of their own. Soon-Yi, who was once criticized as breaking up families, became Allen's life partner and stayed with him for decades. They got married and had 2 daughters, both as a responsibility and a way to show that they could live a normal life despite their bad reputation. In later interviews, Allen repeatedly said that Sun-Yi was a disciplined, decisive wife and an excellent mother, showing that he appreciated and trusted his partner despite societal criticism. However, public pressure never went away. They were still a popular topic in the press and mainstream media, and every time they went public, they were met with angry stares and rumors. As Soon-Yi became an adult, she had to deal with a lot of attention. In the early years of their marriage, they learned to protect their privacy by staying away from loud events like premieres and art openings and never talking to the media. Despite this, their story was used as an example of a Hollywood scandal and an out-of-the-ordinary relationship for decades. Allen and Soon-Yi have kept their marriage stable. They chose to stay together, raise their children, and live under constant scrutiny, which shows that they were willing to pay the price for their choices. Their life became a mix of love, persistence, and the ability to deal with public opinion, making them a model of an unusual but long-lasting family. Allen kept making movies and made a lot of new ones, but his name was always linked to scandals from the past, and public opinion stayed divided. Some saw him as an artistic genius, while others saw him as having a scandalous private life. Meanwhile, Ye and her children mostly lived in New York, trying to find peace and avoid attention. The couple would sometimes go out in public to walk or attend events, but they were always quiet and low-key. They seemed to have learned how to live in a critical world without being torn apart by public opinion. Even though everyone was against them getting married, they did it and said it was the best thing for them and their family. However, the relationship could not escape the shadows of the past. When the Stand and Me Too movement started in 2017, Woody Allen's old scandal came back to the surface. This new wave turned Allen from a seasoned director into a symbol of moral controversy. Every new film project was closely looked at by the media, amplifying every detail, from the accusations in 1992 to his relationship with Soon-Yi Previn, sparking public outrage. Collaborating studios slowly pulled out, and some projects were delayed or shelved. Many famous actors publicly said they regretted working with him, and audiences were split down the middle, with some condemning him and others separating the art from the artist. Despite the criticism, Soon-Yi Previn did not stay quiet. In public interviews, she said that their relationship was voluntary between two adults and denied all claims that they were playing a father and daughter role with Allen. "We are two adults in love and together voluntarily," she said. She also talked about her own experiences with Mia Farrow, saying that as a child she was made to do many housework and was sometimes treated harshly and crudely. Soon-Yi said that this strictness and controlling Soon-Yi caused a lot of tension that Allen couldn't directly fix or protect her from. Hollywood and people around the world were very divided. Some artists, like Greta Gerwig, refused to work with Allen to avoid being linked to the case, while others, like Scarlett Johansson, stuck by her, saying that they had to respect due process and the truth. Once they took Allen's side, they wouldn't let go, but we had to keep living. This controversy went beyond Hollywood and became a global symbol of the conflict between victims' rights and the right to be vindicated, as well as between morality and art. Allen was constantly under public pressure. Every movie project, interview, and public appearance was linked to an old scandal and constant scrutiny. This was hard on his mental health, even though he was never charged with a crime. When the story got out into the public eye, it got crazy. Some people thought Allen used his power to control Soon-Yi, while others thought she was fully independent and knew what she wanted. Soon-Yi said in her own voice that she wasn't brainwashed or forced to love Allen, even though there was a lot of controversy. Videos, photos, or public appearances of Allen and Soon-Yi, even when they seemed normal, made people nervous. Every move was scrutinized. People were always interested in and judging the relationship, and soon Previn broke the years of silence. She tells her story with courage and sharp insight, not only about her own tragedy but also about the weight of power, love, and pain in a broken family. Her voice became an important part of the story where tragedy, justice, and emotion are all intertwined. In 2025, Soon-Yi Previn came out of the shadows for the first time and told her story in a long interview. "I was tired of being spoken for. Every gap about me was filled with rumors. Now I will tell everything from my own eyes," she said. It was a very hard childhood for her because her adoptive mother, Mia Farrow, didn't see her as a daughter but as a servant. She had to do a lot of hard work from morning to night, like ironing sheets, shopping, cleaning, washing dishes, mopping floors, and taking care of the family's needs. She worked non-stop and sometimes she just wanted to scream, "Why do I have to go through this?" Her voice was shaking and angry. But the chores were only the surface of. Mia once flipped her over with her foot, claiming it would make her smarter. Other times, she had insulting words written on her arm, and she had to wear long sleeves to hide the marks. If she did badly in school, she was scolded, called mean names, and even threatened with being sent to a mental hospital. She remembered crying in her room and staring at the wall. "I felt like I wasn't a daughter, not even human, just a burden." That's when Woody Allen showed up. At first, he was just a stranger. She remembered Allen as her mother's quiet, rarely home boyfriend who never left anything behind. She didn't understand why her mother loved him so much. But as she became a teenager, her seemingly harmless basketball dates with Allen became more personal. She could tell a difference. He cared, listened, and respected her, which was something no one else had ever done. She said, "For the first time, I felt respected, heard," her eyes shining with emotion. Conversations, walks on the street, or just watching a basketball game became more personal. Together, they made her feel safe and cared for. She didn't love Allen out of defiance or rebellion, she loved him because he saw her worth. "Mia was never my mother, but he showed me that I was valuable," she said, her voice trembling but softly emphasizing each word. That love wasn't easy, not for fame or escape. But it was a mature choice between the need to be loved and the need to be alone. One of the most haunting parts of Suni Previn's interview was when she talked about choosing to be with Woody Allen. "I was not a minor being raped, harassed, or manipulated. Not by a stranger at all." Suni Previn talked about how years of being closely watched by the public caused her a lot of emotional pain. "People judged me without knowing the real story," she said in a low, hurtful voice. Ever since her relationship with Woody Allen became public, people have been mean to her and criticizing her, making her youth a never-ending mental battle. She said that the shock and pain came from both criticism and the looks of friends, acquaintances, and even strangers. "I walked down the street and felt like everyone looked at me as if I were a traitor or criminal," she recalled, gay and sad. She had to live in fear, self-defense, and solitude for years because of those memories. But she soon made it clear that all of her pain did not take away from the happiness she felt with Woody Allen. "When I'm with him, I feel heard, respected, and safe," she stated. Voice gets warmer, eyes get softer. That feeling was very important for her to get through the weather outside, and it still is. She also said that every day with Allen made her feel truly valued and loved, even though the public still sometimes scared her. "We have peaceful moments, laughter, and care I've never experienced anywhere else," she noted. His presence gave her mental support and helped her get over past hurts and find happiness. Finally, you soon saw that her pain and happiness go hand in hand. She didn't forget the mean looks and criticism, but she also didn't give up on the love she chose. She spoke with a light but determined voice, "My life is a mix of pain and love. Plus, Woody gave me a reason to be happy no matter what." Over the years, members of the Farrow family have spoken out, giving two very different pictures of life in that strange home. There was a deep crack in the middle of it all that made it hard to tell right from wrong because of confusing memories, hurtful charges, and emotional wounds that hadn't healed. As everyone in this family told their own story, it turned into a sad scene because no one agreed with anyone else. Moses Farrow, who was adopted by Mia Farrow, spoke out most in support of both Suni and Woody Allen. He talked about how scared and pushed he was as a child and how Mia often controlled, punished, and pushed the kids to turn on each other. Moses talked about a place that was hard to breathe in because fear hid love. She had strict rules, especially for kids who didn't do what she asked. On the other hand, Dylan, Ronan, and some other brothers strongly supported Mia. Dylan said over and over that Allen had abused her when she was 7 years old. She stuck to this story for years in interviews, the press, and on tape. Ronan, who is now a reporter, believed Dylan's story and thanked his mother for taking care of and protecting the kids. They said Mia was a kind and loving mother who never abused her kids like Moses and Suni said she did. In a public statement, 8 of Mia Farrow's children sided with her and said they had never seen any violent behavior. They also said Moses was wrong for changing history and spreading lies that hurt the family's image. The public was strongly split between these two opposing points of view, which made the situation more complicated. In the end, despite the storms, Woody Allen and Suni Previn are still proof of a love that has caused a lot of trouble but has lasted. The public looked at them with scorn and criticism, but they still chose each other, kept their own family, and found happiness in their own way. Even though their love isn't perfect, it gets through prejudice and pressure and becomes a story about freedom, choice, and staying true to your feelings. They seem to have found the peace they were looking for after more than 20 years. Allen and Suni don't want the media to know about their private life. Instead, they focus on family and important private times. After years of pain and trouble, they learn to value each other, share, and accept each other's limits. Their story has a very important lesson. When you love someone, sometimes you have to deal with unkind and critical eyes. But if both partners work together and if people care about each other, they can be